under his chest. It's got to reach a plane that's on this side of 90. Can you back up for 1 second? So what does that mean? This shoulder is getting blocked by his chest. What I need to do is I need to get this shoulder past a 90-degree plane. If I can make this shoulder, if I can pass that 90-degree plane, I'll most likely be able to get to my fours. Okay, it's just a matter of time. If I do everything else well, that this happens pretty quickly. It's too late for him to bring my shoulder back, but I do need to win that. So you win it with little creations of space, and then you win it by putting your shoulder down to the mat. It could be arguably, besides the shoulder position, the most important thing when we go over a single is this arm position. So if I've won the 90-degree plane, I know I'm going to a single. I know I'm going to be able to face the floor, get my chest to the floor. This elbow, the near elbow, must retract and tuck into my ribs. That's highly important. I can. It's going to be detrimental to my offense if I reach with the bottom arm. Top arm can reach. The bottom arm doesn't reach. Okay, and we're gonna see this in a second. If I go with a reach, if I try to get this leg as a reach, I potentially can get stopped by my own arm getting down to the ground, or I can get here and be completely extended in a horrible sprawled out position. And with no momentum whatsoever. I'd have to build my base up with that pretty bad elbow position. If I'm able to get my elbow down, which is quite easy, there's nothing holding my elbow, so I'll get my elbow down when I go to the single. When we go, regardless of if we get the leg or not, I'm on my elbow, so my left arm becomes useful as a post, and my right arm will wrap around the arm. This allows me to build up a base on 4 points, on 2 arms, 2 legs, and it allows me to get my body up off the ground. I'm not flat. I don't stay flat for any length of time. We go flat, we build our base up, and we get off our knees, we drive forward. So if we keep that elbow down, we're gonna be able to get there successfully and not get put back on our back, be on our shoulder, or be completely sprawled out and extended. So we've gotta keep in mind these things are extremely important. The last is when we get a single, there are 2 very efficient grips. There's a palm to palm, and then there's a hand over hand. The grip that I prefer is a hand over hand. And the reason I prefer it is because that way we are ready if he sprawls, and I can control his leg arguably much better with the control of the high shin and shoulder and the hip. So I prefer this more than palm to palm. Palm to palm can bring in the legs, but sometimes it's his hip and leg against my arms. I may lose that sometimes. I also have no grip, but they're both very, very good grips. Again, pluses and minuses of both. So I'm gonna go over a hand over hand approach and base the single leg off of that versus a palm to palm approach, although both are strong. So again, when we're ready to go for the single, we use our jab tool. We're out and we're trying to get to the guard, and it doesn't work. He blocks. The right arm goes first. This right arm is going to go as a shield, so it goes from one armpit down to the other. Can we rotate this way? At this shield, what it does is it just holds him up long enough for my shoulder to make it to that plane. So if you see when I'm here and my shield is here, as the elbow tucks, that lets my shoulder get and beat that 90-degree plane. Okay, so that's very important, that shield. So again, we're here. He's blocked. My right hand goes to the bottom armpit, has made that shield. And as my shoulder goes in, we make sure our angle is correct, and then I scissor. That's when the left arm is coming in. We bring the left arm in as we scissor our legs, and now we go to a hand over hand approach. When we scissor our legs and we go to the single leg, it's very important, the position of our hands, our shoulder, and our head. And then we'll talk about getting off of our knees. The hand position is as such. When we go, my hand that's around the leg is, if I get to this position, is gonna go on the ground on the bottom. My opposite hand is gonna go over the top of that hand. When we do a hand over hand approach and we begin our drive, it acts essentially as a pull going through the mat. So my hands are posted on the floor and we drive, it becomes a solid pull. So that at this point, if Nick tries to sprawl, it's very, very, very difficult, okay? Versus if I have my hands palm over palm, it's my lat strength holding him in versus his hip and leg strength. And we can be extended, okay? So hand over hand creates that pull scenario that we can start to run around and cut the corner. My shoulder should look to be in this hip and my head should look to be on the far side. And what we really want to do is once we go flat first and then drive, I want to drive Nick's hip offline from his leg. So if you see when I get to this scenario, what I would love to do is drive forward in a way that puts his hip out of alignment with his leg. So it moves his hip over to the outside, to the inside of this leg. That makes this leg relatively weak as far as a sprawl goes. If his hip's over his leg, he can sprawl backwards. If his hip gets moved to the inside, now his leg becomes weak. And that's what we're trying to do when we go flat and drive right away. We're trying to displace and move his hip to the side so his leg now becomes too weak to sprawl. That's the idea. Again, so we're gonna go from the bottom, we're gonna secure the single leg. So we have head, hip, cross side. I tried my jab, I tried to get to the guard, it failed. My wedge came in, my shield at the bottom came in, my left elbow tucks in, we scissor and go flat, my right arm goes to the floor, left arm goes to the floor, and we build our base. And I want my head up and my shoulder in, and we're driving because we're gonna cut the corner first. Again, what it looks like without Nick is it looks like this. We try our jab, I drive my knee in, I bump up, the knee comes in, he blocks it, my shield comes in, this elbow disappears, we scissor, go flat, and then we're driving. Okay, hand over hand around the leg on the bottom, and we're trying to drive his hip offline with our head up in good position, looking for the far hip. So far we've just built ourselves from flat to the driving position, and that's it. Angle. Let's talk about the angle of where we want to be. There's a very specific angle or sweet spot where I want to be in relation to Nick. So when I'm hitting a single leg, we need to be away from him at an angle that my head is already underneath his hip. If I try to single leg him when I'm beside him and my head is free, I'm gonna struggle here. I'm gonna end up running into his legs, and this arm that's blocking my hip will make it very, very tough for me to get all the way to my fore. So we'll get stuffed by his hip. This is gonna happen almost naturally because we went for the knee first. So what happens is Nick will move a little bit to that angle because he wants to stay away from my guard leg. So typically he'll put himself at the angle. But if he doesn't, say he doesn't put him, and I feel that I'm getting crowded, we must walk our leg backwards so that we win this angle, and then we can easily drive up and in. The angle of the single leg is very, very, very important, that I make sure that I'm off to that slight angle and my head is under his hips when we go flat and come up. I can't be right beside him. If he's perpendicular, I'll get blocked by his legs and it'll just be disaster. So I want to make sure that our angle is out, we're flat, up, and drive. Okay, now that we've got our little nuances down, let's build our base, let's hit a single, and let's finish our single with probably one of the most basic ways to finish a single, and we'll be shelving the leg on our hip. And this really primarily happens because I'm either much further ahead, I got ahead of him, and his defense got slower, or I'm just